Hello again, YouTube. This is my 1994 Volkswagen Jetta GLX MK3. Today I've got a problem with the handbrake. It's stopped clicking and engaging fully. So I can come up and it'll click once, but then again it won't engage anymore. It's like the teeth are worn off or something in there. So I'm going to take the handbrake handle off and see what's going on. The first step is to remove the leather boot and get that completely off the handle. To do that, you can just release these clips by squeezing in on the boot and release it from the console. And then slide the whole thing forward far enough to expose a little pin under here that you have to pry off to release it from the handle. Use a small screwdriver. I'll show you what this looks like after it comes off. So get your small screwdriver through that slot and lift it or lower it such that you can disengage the handle and slide it forward. So here's a view of the underside of the handle. As you can see now, that little tab, and I got my screwdriver under it this way and lifted it up just slightly at the same time I pulled it forward, and that would disengage it from the metal part of the handle. So now we can slide the front seats forward to gain better access to the rear console. So now on either side of the rear console there's this plastic button covering up a screw. Rather than sticking your screwdriver in there and tearing up the plastic, you just pull it out a little bit, reach under there and pop it out with your finger. That reveals a Phillips head screw. Once you remove the screw from both sides, you just simply lift the console off. The trunk release switch inside the console has an electrical connector. I simply disconnect that. Now we can lift the whole rear console up and over the brake mechanism and remove it completely. There's the connector to the trunk release button. Let's see what we got going on down here now. So we've got the electrical switch, which is a little button right here for the parking brake light on the dash. Little electrical connector right here. We can gently pull that loose. Again, looking down from the top, we can see we've got the two main bolts that secure it to the frame of the car, as well as these two nuts that are on the end of each brake cable. Each one of these cables goes back to each rear corner of the car. And there's a jam nut and an adjustment nut, and they both connect to this compensator, which makes up for the difference in cable length. I'm having trouble getting my wrench all the way back in there, so I'm going to try and remove this top bracket that's in the way. Two Phillips screws. And there's two nuts on either side down in here. I'll put my gear wrench down in there and back this one off. Now I think I can get this bracket out of the way. So as it turns out, I did not need to remove this bracket at all, because the compensator here has a slot in it. Looking toward the back, you can see that horizontal slot in the compensator. I should be able to unbolt the handbrake itself, rotate it 90 degrees, and then slide it right out of that slot. So live and learn. Here are the two 13mm bolts that I need to remove the whole handle from the frame of the car. Now below the handle I'm seeing a lot of metal shavings, metal filing, so it looks like we're seeing something's definitely worn in there, metal's worn away. So now I should be able to remove the handle, lift it off the bolts, rotate it 90 degrees, and pull it out of the compensator. There we go. Wish I'd thought about that before, huh? Live and learn. Alright, here on the bench, let's see if we can take a look and see what's going on. First of all, there's a good look at the brake light switch. It's pushed on by when this part comes down and presses on that switch. That will close the circuit or open the circuit and light up the light on the dashboard. I'm going to flip it over and remove that first to get that out of the way. Just going to squeeze those tabs together and push it through the hole. And push that aside. Now let's take a look at this mechanism. Push the button and it retracts that little pawl, and the pawl engages the teeth on this this partial gear here. And if you don't push in the button, it just rides across those teeth. Well, I can see right away that the tip of this pawl is kind of rounded over. It's no longer sharp. And to make matters worse, you can see the tops of these teeth down here where it's used the most are really flattened and rounded over. So we've worn those teeth way on down. And just from that wear, it no longer will, I'm not even pushing the button, it won't even lock anymore until I get on up higher here to these teeth that aren't used. Now something interesting to note here, just give me an idea. Looks like the portion here with the teeth is a separate piece that's kind of pressed into the main piece. So I wonder if I can pop that out and flip it over. Right, so if I could pop that out and flip it over, I could position the good teeth that haven't been used down here to the bottom, and maybe that would help us out. The second thing I'm considering is that the tip of this little pawl, is, since it's rounded over, I think I can just take my Dremel tool to it and sharpen that up again. In fact, it's more worn on this side than the other side. You can see that in the light there, that's really kind of worn off at a diagonal. But if I can reshape that and make it pointy again, I think that might resurrect it. You know, rather than buying a whole new or salvage piece, let's give this a try first. So I got the piece positioned on my vise with a gap in between, straddling the jaws of the vise. I just want to see if I could tap that down and see if I can persuade it out. I think it's just a friction fit. Moving. So that's what we got. I was right. So now theoretically we can flip it over and put it back in. So before I try to reinstall this thing upside down, I'm going to take this opportunity while I have a little more room in here to work on the point of this piece here. I've clamped the whole apparatus on my vise in a creative way, and I've got a clamp here that's depressing the button so that the little tooth is extracted. So with better access to the tooth here, I'm going to swing this so I got a gap, and then I'm going to use my Dremel tool and see if I can shape that back into another sharp point. Try and clean up that surface with a file. I got a nice sharp point there again. That might just work. Alright, let's see if we can tap this thing back in there opposite to the way it came out. Brilliant. How's that look? Oh, that's really good action. Now that it's working really well, I'm going to put some grease on these just to hopefully help it last another 20 years. Alright, before we go to put it back on the car, let's put the parking brake light switch back on. It snaps into that hole. And so reinstallation should just be the reverse of what we've already done. Turn it 90 degrees and insert it into the slot in the compensator. rotate it back vertical. Put it on the bolts. Beautiful. So now we got smooth acting, locking, nicely lubricated, and it locks in every position. Call that job done. Okay, I'm quite happy with that result, especially with what I invested in the fix, and that's right, absolutely nothing. Please subscribe and stay tuned. I'm going to have more projects on my Jetta Mark III. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.